Thomas Green here with Ethical Marketing Service. On the podcast today, we have Ray McKenzie. Ray, welcome.
All right, how are you doing? And thank you
Marvelous.
for having me, by the way.
My pleasure. Would you like to take a moment and tell the audience a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yes, so my name is Ray McKenzie. I'm the founder and CEO of StartingPoint. StartingPoint is a plug and play customer operations platform for professional services based companies and teams. Mhm.
I checked out the site, and a lot of the tools on there that are in your welcome video, like Trello and Monday and all those types of popular ones, there are some of the things that we use. So totally understand where the value comes in there. The topic of conversation, at least the planned one, was starting a tech company. Are you happy to talk about that?
Yeah, definitely. It's tough. That's the first thing I can say. It definitely is a challenge. I'd say, my journey started out with, I spent a number of years in corporate America working for tech companies. So I started my career. I'm from California, now residing in Redondo Beach, California, and spent a considerable amount of my career in San Francisco and Washington, D.C., working for early stage and publicly traded tech companies. Okay, and in capacities of operational and technical roles and leadership and executive leadership. Then a company relocated us out to Los Angeles to do a bit of global strategy and service delivery. And, that was another tech company. And then I had other CEOs contact me and they said, Ray, we need help with our companies to help them build, grow, and scale. And from an operational process, technology, and systems point of view. And I said, okay, well, let's try that out. That turned into a consulting services company named Red Beach Advisors that I still run this day. So Red Beach Advisors is a technology management consulting company helping companies focus on strategy, operational efficiency, and digital transformation through technology. And I started that about 7 years ago. And so from there, I had this services company and, would have great clients, Amazon, Microsoft, Hewlett Packard, Cargill, State Farm, some really large Fortune 1000 companies and brands. And the challenge I ran into was I didn't have a way to see all of their engagement with us. So it's a bunch of different consultants. They're working on projects. The customers have questions. There's goals, there's tasks, there's to-dos, there's, questions, there's files. All of this stuff is coming into my firm, and I don't really have one view into seeing all of that. And so there really weren't a lot of tools. And so, as I went out and tried to kind of piece together a solution, I ended up using a lot of the tools that you mentioned earlier. You're trying to use, in Asana, a Monday, a Basecamp, you're using email and G Suite and Excel spreadsheets and, project management tools. And none of them really quite worked because I'm paying for all of these different solutions. I'm not getting the right view that I want to see. I'm still missing items. Some of my team is missing items as well, say when they're going out of the office or when they're on vacation. And I couldn't solve the problem. And so I just decided to build something. And so that started the journey of becoming kind of a tech startup founder. I then started to build a tool. And in building the tool, I showed it to other service-based companies. And they were interested and they said, hey, we need something like this. We would definitely like to use this. We need to have one singular unified platform that allows us to see everything that our customers are doing. And that led me to turn what I was building into its own company. And that's how StartingPoint was created. So StartingPoint is a plug and play customer operations platform that replaces a lot of those other tools and allows you to have one single point of view for your help desk customer inquiries, your projects that you're working on for your customers, your files that your clients and customers upload and send to you, All of your tasks and checklist items and things you have to get accomplished for your clients are inside the business. And then you're also able to manage your team and your team's performance and goals that you want to reach. And so that allowed us to have kind of one centralized platform that allowed us to manage all of our clients, see all of the activity from our customers, and also be able to manage all the activity from our team around the world in one location. And so it simplified things for us. And so in doing so, now back to the journey itself, this was difficult. So, you always start out with an idea and you start building it. And I'm building it from my lens as a business owner as to what I need for myself. And as I did that, that worked out well to a point. However, if you're building something that you want, you also need to make sure everybody else wants it. And so, we went through the path of just talking to a lot of different service-based companies, and just finding out what they wanted, what was important, what features did they need, what made sense for them, what would make their life easier, because that's really the driving buying factor for people, which is, does this tool make what I need to do easier to get done, simplify it, and am I able to achieve it? If I have to go buy a tool and it takes me, 20 clicks to try to get something accomplished in 30 minutes, that's not really useful for me. And we've all used a lot of those tools in our background. And so, we really set out to build something that was efficient. Our platform can be deployed within 1 hour. No actions take more than 5 clicks. And, it's simple to use. And it's been a difficult ride. I think the ups and downs as to what you're building, doesn't make sense. Are you building truly what people want? Are you building it in the way your customers and clients want? What adjustments do you need to make? And are you prioritizing it the proper way? And, luckily we've had some great customers, some great clients. They've been able to give a lot of feedback to us, and they've really allowed us to build our product and helped us build our product since we launched it in June of 2020.
Good background. Before we move away from the problems or the difficulties that you stated, what would you say has been the biggest challenge that you've overcome?
What's interesting is, because I was building it from a customer perspective, the tool, because I needed it myself. So the tool wasn't really the challenge. It was a lot of the business decisions and how to really grow the business. Okay, so we built the product. I know the product because I needed it and we were using it within my consulting firm. That's great. However, how do you build the messaging so that a services company like your own or like others really understand what the problem is? So the message, while I knew it because I'm looking through my lens, I've got to get you to understand what that is so you understand it too in your words. And
It's
so
a marketing message thing.
Exactly,
So
exactly.
There's a principle, or there's a category, if you like, of problems. So the type of, I think it's in relation to sales copy as well. So there's a problem that you have, that you have, and you're looking to solve. And there's a problem that you have that you don't know you have. And I guess yours is the latter, I suppose.
Exactly. I mean, it's one of those things to where you're looking at a solution, and we built a solution, and I know I have the problem. But then also, how do I verbalize that and share that in the same concise message for everyone else? And so really what we did was we originally wrote the copy, thinking, oh, this sounds fantastic. This is great. Everybody's going to get it. Once they see this, the light is gonna come on for them, and they're gonna be like, hey, StartingPoint is a perfect tool for our organization. We wrote the copy. We said we had a couple of early customers, which is great. We started to do a digital marketing campaign. We got 0 results from that campaign. The campaign did not work. It failed. People still didn't understand what we did. Um, and it taught us a lesson, and it was like, hey, even though you understand what you're doing, you have to explain it in a way that other people get it. And we were using words that in large Fortune 500 or Fortune 1000 companies, words like service delivery and client management and client delivery. Those words work great for very, very large companies and Fortune 1000, Fortune 100, Fortune 500 companies, but those do not resonate with smaller to medium-sized service companies. Those are not typically words that are used. And so we had to go back and we essentially talked to all of our customers and all of our prospects and said, this is the problem we're solving. Can you explain it back to us? And in asking them to do that, then that's how we settled on, our messaging, which is solving the disconnected customer experience. And that's our method. But that was a huge, I can't understate how big of a problem that was from a marketing and messaging point of view. It took us approximately 4 months just to get that right. So you think we launched in June, our product in June 2020. We did a digital marketing campaign that failed horribly. So that's the next month, and you're laughing. You want to laugh because
well, I mean, as you're a business owner or an entrepreneur, so the concept of failure is just feedback, right? So you got some pretty harsh feedback there.
The harsh feedback was no feedback. Nobody responded. It's kind of like throwing a party and you throwing out 1,000 different flyers or notices or messages to people, and absolutely nobody RSVPs for the party. And then they really don't RSVP. They don't really show up. That's a whole other situation. But we did that. We launched in June. We did the digital marketing campaign. We stopped it in July because we were testing the market and doing some A/B testing. The test told us obviously we failed. We then kind of stopped and said, let's work on the messaging and let's work on improving our product. And so from almost June to November, we still continued to sell the product, but at the same time, it was all about let's really nail our messaging. Let's nail our value proposition. Let's nail who our target buyer is and speak to them in their language. And that helped us, figure out what we needed to do, And so next thing you know, we come out in November and we've got, a revised website, revised messaging. And it's something that we continuously tweak and mess with. But yeah, that was a huge challenge for us.
It's interesting that you picked up on what the issue is, because I mean, some entrepreneurs or business owners, they don't know that that's a problem. So it will be a typical like 4-page website, sending traffic to this website, and let's just see how it goes type thing. And then if that particular marketing doesn't work, let's say, then they'll establish that media, for example, Facebook or whatever it might be, that media just doesn't work for me or my business, and then they'll never do it again. Why is it that you came to a different conclusion?
Because money was behind it. I wish there was, a lot of people put out a website, and like you said, they do exactly what you're saying. They fire up a website and they put it out on the internet, and then they start to slowly promote it. And they hope people find it. They hope the messaging works. You truly can't get feedback until you really start to ask clients and customers. And so that's one of the challenges. And so for us, when we put money behind it, because we are bootstrapped to date, we're watching every dollar that's going out of the business. And we want to make sure that every dollar that we send out of the business has some sort of return attached to it. And so for that, our big thing is hey, let's do this campaign. Let's see what the results are. Let's see what our traffic looks like. Let's see if people understand what we're doing. And they just didn't. And so that kind of intuitively told me, we've got to change this. We've this is something that we've talked to 150 service-based companies, and they all said we need a tool like this. And then we come out and we publish messaging and a website, and nobody says they want it. So there's a disconnect. And that disconnect was simply the story we were telling.
Fascinating. So in that interim where you were getting feedback, what did that look like? Were you just emailing people or surveys, or can you explain that?
It was all calls.
Okay.
It was actually setting up time with people and having a conversation with them for 30 minutes. Not something that's easy to do by no means, but it was something that we had to go through. It was like, because if you send a survey, we know from a marketing perspective, you're going to get maybe a 3 to 5% return on your survey. The survey responses don't really give you the insight. So what we did was, in emails, going back and forth in emails don't really give you the insight as well, because somebody can say, oh, you just need to change your website. Oh, I don't necessarily like this message. Or, oh, it needs to be a bit more interactive, which is why I think sometimes companies should use, maybe focus groups a bit more, instead of just relying on, surveys and emails to get feedback. Sometimes you need to actually do that live testing with people, understand their emotion, understand if they can explain your product back to you. And so we did a lot of calls, which was, hey, tell me what you think this does. And a lot of the times when we would have calls with random prospects, they would be like, oh, we thought your tool did this. And sometimes they'd be like, hey, this works for us, and this is even better than what we have. And sometimes they'd say, this isn't what we're looking for. That's fine. The challenge is that first part, which is, oh, we thought your product did something else. And so that's what we wanted to solve. And so in talking with people, it was, oh, what problem are you looking to solve? And or how would you explain what our value prop is back to me? Explain it back to me. Tell me what you think it is. And so just having those actual conversations and live feedback takes 15, 20 minutes. And they'll I'd say the one thing people are always willing to give you is an opinion. They won't give you money. They necessarily won't intentionally give you their time, but people will always try to give you their opinion on something.
That's great message. It reminds me of, because I typically don't have a great, and this is my opinion, a great market research, but that kind of market research sounds just invaluable.
Yeah, I think talking to your prospects, talking to your target customers, and it helped us so much over those 4 months, and one of the challenges from startup companies is trying to find your target customer too. And trying to find your target customer is not always as easy as you think. Like, you're like, hey, I know I'm building it for myself, companies like my own, things like that. But then once people start really using the tool, then you can really nail in from a kind of buyer persona perspective and find out who your target buyer is, what industry, who you need to talk to sell it, who's got to make the decision, who has the authority to make the decision to use it, and go from there.
Did you have any intention when you built it? Did you have anything in the back of your mind that was like, maybe this could be something for someone else? Or was it purely, I'm just going to build something for myself?
No, yeah. So when I started, it was all, let's focus on small to medium size, service-based firms. So whereas you're working with external clients, you're working with, a distributed team inside your business. You've got questions coming into the business. You've got projects you need to facilitate. You've got tasks that need to handle. You've got people you need to report to quickly. And as we started showing it to more people, that was correct. But then there were other applications of the tool as well. And the other use case of it, and we have two, and we have like a professional services use case, and then we also have a shared services use case. And the shared services use case is the use case that popped up, which is there's in larger companies, you have internal departments that service internal groups. And so those are kind of called shared services units, departments. And for the most part, these departments don't have tools. You just kind of have to send an email over to Sherry and Mark, and hopefully they get it, or somebody picks it up and responds back. Or Sherry and Mark are working on a project for John in sales, and they don't know who's working on what, nothing's tracked. And then John has to email into Mark and say, Mark, do you know how this project is going inside? I need this document. And John is like, Sherry's working on it. So then he has to CC Sherry. And there's absolutely no visibility or transparency in terms of what's going on. And so as we started showing it to some of my colleagues that I worked with previously in larger companies, they were like, this would work great in some of our internal shared services departments, because they're fielding calls from 50 different salespeople into one sales operations team. Or you've got one marketing department and you've got 7 different regions that need marketing support and marketing materials. And, we all have been inside these large companies to where people are saying, hey, do you have an update on this? Or, hey, did you get my question here? Or, hey, what do I need to provide you so you can be able to do your job? And, hey, I need to report up to my executive management. How do I do that quickly? And these are questions that we've all had inside of shared services groups or working with shared services organizations. And so as we started showing it to other companies, they were like, we could use this inside the company. And so whereas it was originally built for external use, for smaller professional services, consulting groups, agencies, financial firms, things like that, now we've got a use case that highlights internal shared services communication in customers.
So would you say it was demand that gave you the idea to have it as a separate company more than it was kind of a entrepreneurial thing? So people are requesting it. Because just to give you a context, as soon as I think of a cool tool or something that, let's say like a business idea of some sort, I immediately think, how good this would be in the market. And I've already got plans, even though I have, I may not follow them through. So I'm just trying to get an idea of whether or not those thoughts are with you at that time.
It was more so demand, which is, I started building it for myself. And then I was like, hey, and this is part of being a new entrepreneur, is you have to share your idea with people and get feedback. And that leads to, you have to be vulnerable. Nobody will, hey, if you ask some people for their opinion or their feedback, sometimes it's going to hurt. And so as we built it, it was more like, let's show it. And then as we showed it, people were like, that's something we could use. And then since they said that's something we could use, I was like, let's turn it into its own company itself. Instead of selling it as a unit of Red Beach Advisors, my consulting firm, it was more so, let's break this out. This could be its own company, and the demand is there. And, the challenge is always, you just have to show more people.
Did you get anyone who was like, yeah, I don't like it?
We haven't gotten anybody that said that.
I was just looking for that 1%. The reviews, the hundreds of positive reviews on the listing, and then there's that one person who gives the 1-star negative feedback.
I wouldn't say they didn't like it. it was more of it didn't solve the challenge that they felt they had at that time. And, sometimes people have different needs, in this world of all of these different tools that are out there, people are always trying to connect one system to another in an easy way. And so, like for instance, we talked to an insurance company very early on out of Texas, and they were like, "Well, we're looking for a platform," and goes back to our incorrect messaging. They were like, "We're looking for a platform that can tie, that can message out insurance quotes to people and individuals, and be able to customers will be able to log in, they'll be able to retrieve their insurance quotes that come from another system and make it easy for them." And we were like, "Well, we don't do that." And he was like, "I like your platform, but it just doesn't do what we need it to do." And that's one of those fork in the road situations, to where, okay, you take that feedback in and you're like, okay, well, he needs this feature, he needs this, he's an insurance company. Do we build our product to go do that? And at the end of the day, we were just like, no, because that's not what we built the tool for. That's not where our expertise came from. And that's not what the 150 people we had previously talked to told us they wanted. And so I'd say we haven't got wow, I don't like it. It's more of this doesn't solve the problem we're looking for. Surprisingly, we've gotten really good feedback from people who actually who chose to not buy at the end of the day, and they've been like, "Hey, they'll always ask how long it took to build it and when it launched." And then we say, "Hey, we launched our product in June," and they're like, this is a product that looks like it's been in the market for 3 years. And so we get great feedback from, how we built the product, along with the feedback we've gotten from our customers. And sometimes it's just not the problem that companies want to solve at the time, and it doesn't work for every scenario. We talked to a company recently, a very large international company, and they were looking for more of a B2C solution for their customers. And so they have, 30,000, 50,000 customers, and even more than that. And they were looking for a very similar platform to the insurance company, where their clients could easily ask questions and manage incidents and, service calls and things like that. And our tool is a B2B tool. It's not a B2C tool. And so, that was just the issue. Sometimes it's not what people are really looking for at that time.
So are you fully into this business, or are you still doing some consulting at the same time? I guess to get an idea of what your situation is, some people, when they start up a tech firm, they get some like finance and they've got like a burn rate. But if you're being supported by your consulting company, just sort of wondering what your situation is there.
Yeah, I'd probably say I'm about 90-10. So StartingPoint is about 90% of the time I spend, and 10% of the time I'm usually invested in my consulting firm. And that's mainly from an oversight point of view, which is, hey, managing client communication and making sure projects are getting delivered. But StartingPoint is kind of obviously that's the growth engine. It's kind of where we're going, and where I'm going, and where the business is going. And so that's kind of the baby.
So do you like it because it's scalable?
Yes. In an easier way. I think running a consulting firm, a services-based firm, is always the churn and burn, and you well know, which is, hey, you find a client, you have to continuously go get new clients all the time. And you're working with great people along the way, and you're getting the allure of it is you're always working on a new project. You're always working on something that's new, something that's exciting. You're able to be creative. You're able to deliver great quality work, and produce and see those, productions come to life. The challenge with that is that churn and burn, which is, hey, I always need to go out and find a new client. And so it was, hey, if there's a way, and mind you, I didn't plan on this, but if there's a way to build a software that can generate revenue, recurring revenue easily, as a software company, you're providing a service to people, it makes life a bit easier in that regard. And it's a more scalable product, where I don't have to have one call with a customer or a client every week. I don't have to, actually put hands to keyboard every day on a client to help move their service forward, their project forward, or consistent deliverables. It's something to where, hey, we built it, the product works as it is. Other companies can use it. It's scalable, and it makes life a bit easier to grow the business, and it exponentially allows you to go from a certain level of revenue to up here with less effort.
Well, I had a conversation with, his name was Bharat Kanodia, and he's a business valuation guy. And he said that a SaaS company like yours, where it's recurring revenue, is actually, I think it's 10x times, like the valuation is something like 10 times for SaaS companies than it is for service-based companies.
Mm-hmm.
So like, if you wanted to, and this gets to my next question, which is about your exit strategy. I always like to ask about that. But if you were looking at the valuation of the company, that type of revenue, SaaS recurring revenue, is viewed as like extremely more valuable than service-based industries because of like the reasons that you just said. But would you like to, can you share your exit strategy?
Yeah, that's true. It's the valuation of service-based companies can either be depending upon the company, can be 1 to 3 times your revenue. And there's a lot of different factors that play into that, which is, your customers, the logos, the services you provide, how unique that service offering is. 1 to 3 times is kind of what I've seen in the market. Typically more 1 to 2 times your gross revenue. However, the SaaS business does have a huge different valuation because, when say if somebody's looking at you to acquire the business, they can come in and say, hey, we're going to buy your business. And it's really just a transition. They just got to throw marketing and sales dollars at it. And this just continues to push it forward. So the multiples I've seen are anywhere from 8 to 12. Typically 10 is the average, but anywhere from 8 to 12 based upon the software, the business, how large the market is, and the price point. Our exit strategy for Starting Point, at this point, I think we've got, this is very, very early for us. We're 1 year in. We probably look down the line, we'd say this could easily be, I wouldn't say easily because nothing is easy in this whole journey, nothing is easy, but we feel that our business could be, a business that does $100, $200 million a year in gross revenue over the course of the next 5 to 7 years, simply because of the value we provide companies, the number of companies that need our tool, the ease of use, and, the value that it provides. We've had clients and testimonials on our website that are, gosh, I'll tell you this. We had a call with a customer, I'd say a week and a half ago. And I'm kicking myself over this because I didn't record it. And they went on for about 3 minutes telling us how our tool made their life easier. Just how it drove more efficiency into their business and made it easier for them to manage bottom up and top down. So they were able to manage their, executive management and provide reports easily. They were able to manage their team and their team's utilization and what everybody was working on. And then their internal colleagues and customers just felt it was so simple to get responses back. And so it helped them manage everything across their business. He went on for 3 minutes, glowing about how well our product was. And with that, it's something to where we think, our product, as more people learn about it, can help more companies and be a $100 to $200 million annual revenue business. And hopefully in 5 to 7 years. However, when you start to get on the radar of companies, there's always people that are looking to maybe acquire the business or things like that. I think right now our driving point would be, let's go out and let's build the best business we can and build it to 100 to 200 million annual gross revenue business, if not more than that.
So is that what your goals are? Because I like I said, I did want to ask you about that. Is that?
Yeah, I'd say, I think we've got some short-term goals and some long-term goals. Short-term goals over the next 3, 6, 9 months. Obviously, right now the product, we've got a great product now. We want to continue to innovate. Innovating the product is always a big thing. We want to make sure that we're providing value to our customers and clients. What they need in the product is what we want to try to build. And build it with them telling us, hey, this makes sense. This is what we need. So I think, innovation is obviously key over the next 3 to 6 months. We want to continue to grow the product. Our next big thing is obviously we want to continue to grow sales, revenue. It's all driving revenue. That's the number one thing on the mind daily. How do we increase that and where do we get? And hopefully we get to a point at the end of the year to where we're doing close to $500,000 or $1 million in annual revenue, acquiring revenue. So, we're pushing towards that number. And then the other thing is developing partnerships with good companies, and finding out who kind of allows us to be a good strategic partner for us, to allow us to bring value to them, but also they bring value to us. And so for short-term goals, hopefully we're able to acquire 2 to 3 of those strategic partners that make sense for us, and continue to kind of move things forward. Long-term, we want to get to a point to where we are a $100, $200 million annual recurring revenue business. That's kind of where we want to go. And I believe we can get there, as we kind of grow and continue to share our message and bring on new, fantastic talent. I think over time we'll get there.
And what will that give you when you get there?
Gosh, I think it's a sense of satisfaction and success. I think,
Pride.
in my career, in my career, interesting enough, it's one of those things to where we want to do things that I want to do things that other people haven't generally done before. I want to break barriers. I want to achieve a level of success or accomplishments. It's not necessarily so much a monetary thing. It's more so, hey, I was able to do this. And then in saying that, I'm able to show or tell other people, hey, this is how you do this. And then be an actual demonstration of somebody who actually accomplished these things and achieved these things that other people generally don't learn how to do. So that's a kind of a big thing, which is, hey, okay, well, the first thing is a lot of people don't start businesses. That's one. So then, hey, going to people and being like, hey, you can start a business because I did it. And then being able to start a business and have it be a successful business or firm. So I've been able to create a successful services-based firm. And then go out and say, let's undertake another challenge. Let's build a software. Okay, well, now we've built a software that actually really works. Then you go out and build a software company, which is a different thing. And we're because software company and a services company are 2 different types of companies and undertakings. And so now we've built a software company. Now it's a matter of continuing to grow that business effectively and be able to impact, people's lives and how they work. That's really where we're at. And so, and each step along the way is a challenge. I've got a list within Starting Point of things that we need to get done from a project perspective and task perspective. Um, and that's kind of where we're at, which is, I really just want to try to continue to accomplish and achieve items that, sometimes I didn't even think about doing. And hey, I didn't learn about a lot of these things or steps. In school they don't teach you, hey, go be an entrepreneur. Sometimes in school they don't teach you, hey, you can go out and build a software company. um, there's no classes that say, hey, this is a build a software company 101. You don't have that opportunity. You don't have that understanding.
This is
And
it.
so this is it, real life training. Oh, you want to work for yourself. There's entrepreneurship classes and things like that at certain high level universities, and more universities are building that curriculum. But there's nothing that says, hey, this is a class that's going to teach you how to build a functional startup.
I have to do it because it's just perfect timing. You kind of led me into this one. So how do you build a software company?
Gosh, well, the first thing it starts with is you have an idea and you write the idea down on paper. That's the first and foremost thing, because you have an idea, you have to make it real. And I'm big about that. So, if you have something you want to get done, and, I was talking to another colleague of mine the other day, and he was like, hey, if you have goals, write the goals down. Yeah, I think the same thing with ideas. If you have ideas, you write the idea down. And you may come up with a list of 10 different ideas. The next thing you do is you talk to different people about your ideas who understand the concept. Don't talk to people who have no clue about what you're doing. Like if somebody came to me and said, hey, Ray, I want to start a coffee business, I'd be like, I'm not the person to talk to because I don't drink coffee. But talk to people who have some sort of experience in that area about that idea and say, hey, does this idea make sense? Is it something worth undertaking? Is it something worth building? And then hopefully with that idea, you get some feedback from people, which is, like I said, everybody loves to give opinions. Take advantage of that in the right context. And so you get that feedback and say, oh yeah, this would make sense, or oh yeah, this makes sense. And if you're building something that you need for yourself, you still want to ask other people who have companies like yours. And so write it down. First down thing, write down the idea. Second thing, go get opinions and feedback on your idea. Third thing is quantify how much it's going to take to actually make that idea as real as possible. So how long to formulate the business, that's going to be a cost. To actually build the software, how many hours do you anticipate, or what does that software look like? What do the features look like? Um, what do you want to build? Have some sort of sketched product roadmap around what you want to build, what kind of value it's going to drive. Then go out and you're going to take a look and say, is what I'm building what these people that I originally talked to about the idea wanted or said would be a good idea? And so as you go through that process of building or sketching out what it's going to look like, come back to those people and start saying, hey, is this what it is? Does this make sense? Is this kind of what you figured? And some people will come back and say, oh, well, I thought you were building this. And some people will say, oh, I think you're spot on. But that sketch allows you to kind of keep that track or vision of what you want to build or the problem you want to solve.
Just to touch on tech side of things, do you have all the development background, or did you outsource that? And if so, what did
I have a light development background, a heavier project management background, product management background. And so I actually outsourced the development to start. Okay.
so
And so
how did you do that?
I actually found partners from my consulting firm. So I had a lot of development companies that wanted to partner with, my firm, Red Beach Advisors, that I developed relationships with for the previous like 5, 6 years. And so when it came down time to actually kick off the development of the software, then I just farmed it out to those different groups to say, hey, give me a quote, and so I already had relationships with those teams.
And to incentivize them, do they have like a share in the business?
No.
The best way about that no is the way you said it.
No, they do not.
So
No,
that was essentially in exchange for a fee then, yeah?
Yeah, this is my problem. This is my idea. And go back to the idea. Every idea starts with the problem you want to solve. And so, that's part of the process.
Because I've heard of some examples of that where they've been strung along a little bit. So here's my idea. Here's the tech people that are going to build it for me. And then months go on and they haven't got any closer to their goal. So that's presumably about the relationships with the people that you have, or what are your thoughts on that?
Software development people are just like salespeople. They're coin operated, which is if people want to get paid for their services. Not everybody sees your vision for the long term. More than likely, there's going to be a limited amount of people that see the long-term value in what you're doing. So to get short-term results, you have to pay them. You have to pay people. Salespeople want to get paid. Software developers and software development companies want to get paid because everybody doesn't necessarily see the value long-term. Like if I go to somebody and say, hey, I'm building this. Hey, would you want to work for free for 3 to 5 years until we get a payoff? Not many people are going to have that faith. And so, if you want to get results from people, you got to compensate them via sales and via dollars, dollars, cents, whatever the currency is at the time.
And what do you think about raising finance to do that?
I think there's a capability of doing so, and it just depends on your idea, your network of individuals, getting people to believe in that vision, getting people to understand what you're doing and how, and them believing that you can execute. For me, and this kind of goes into a whole other discussion, but I'm a Black founder. The numbers are well documented in terms of being able to go out and raise capital as a Black founder.
What are they?
I wanted to.
Or do you have an idea of what they are?
It's very minuscule. There's probably about anywhere from 2 to 3% of all venture capital dollars go to Black founders annually. And so with that, to try to get to those 2 to 3% numbers, that's generally difficult. And so my idea coming into building StartingPoint was the same idea I had for Red Beach Advisors, which is, let's not come in and have an idea on a piece of paper that's solving a problem. Let's go out and take that idea and bring it to life and build a business around it first, so that if we want to raise capital, we go out and we show a business that people can invest in, not an idea or a concept or a prototype.
You went with sort of the product first and showed the value, and presumably the first few customers that you got, that helped with cash flow, would you say?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I mean, I wanted to just build a business. I think if you've built something that you're not making money from, that's a hobby. Or if you're doing work for people and then you're not making money for it, that's a hobby. And so I wanted to build a functional business. We have a product, we've got all the components of a functional business, and we've got revenue. And we've got a way to get more revenue. And then that story is a lot more compelling to people, instead of saying, hey, I've just got this idea I want to build, and I think it's going to be $1 billion company one day. and believe in me and give me whatever, $250,000 or $500,000 to kind of get this started. It was more so let's go out, let's build an actual business, let's get a name to it, let's get a logo, let's get a functional product, let's get customers, let's get revenue, let's get testimonials, let's get all of this functionality in. And then we can go to people and we can say, hey, do you want to join us along for the ride?
Well, congratulations on building your company.
No, thank you. It's a challenge. Sometimes I think people say, hey, you should be prouder of what you've done. I don't have time to think about to soak in what we built so far. I don't have time for that. We've got a forward looking motion, and we're kind of moving things forward.
Well, that mentality can certainly be fruitful, I suppose, in terms of getting to the outcome. I have spoken to some, should we say, stoics, or people who advocate the stoic philosophy, and it's that the work, like enjoy your work, and the outcome is never guaranteed, or something along those lines. I probably botched that quote, but I do think that you should be very proud of what you've done. So well done.
Yeah, no, thank you. And yeah, it's, I say this all the time, which is, I think there's a difference between this is fun. This is fun. This is a challenge. This is exciting because no day is the same in a startup world. No day is exactly the same. And so I take pride and enjoyment in the fun of it, which is every day is different, and there's a different challenge to get completed. And, while I'm not able to sit back and say, oh yeah, I've built this business, and yeah, the software is great, and yeah, we've got customers, and let's just hang out today and do that. I love tackling challenges. So wake up every day and there's something else I can get done to move this business forward. And so, what'd you say?
Other than the goals, what's next for you?
Let's see. Gosh, today my boys have baseball practice. So there's always a component of family time. We just got back from Las Vegas for baseball as well. So, what's next today? I think, gosh, continuing on that path, we're exploring if, we're gonna build some different features and functionality. The innovation, sales, and continued marketing, and continued growth, and then obviously family time. So yeah, that's kind of what's next so far. So just, we'll stay in touch and stay along for the journey. And if there's any way I can help you, feel free to reach out, and we'll go from there.
Sounds good to me. Thank you for the information and the story. I think it's a really interesting conversation. And where is the best place for people to find you?
People can find me on LinkedIn as kind of the universal place. So Raymond McKenzie, you'll find me there. And then you can also find me on Twitter at Ray, RAY MC209. And then obviously StartingPoint, www.startingpoint.ai. And that's the company. So feel free to check it out.
That's a cool domain, .ai.
Yeah. We're trying to build some intelligent solutions so people can make work easier.
Okay. Well, thank you again for the value. And Ray McKenzie, I will speak to you soon.
All right. Thanks a lot, Thomas.